Awesome. So today we are doing the top 5 women of wrestling. Not wrestlers, not necessarily wrestlers, but just women of wrestling in general. Our top 5s, and we have a very special guest. Miss Jessica Rosenberg is going to be here with us to talk about the top 5 women of wrestling. Jessica, how you doing?
Hello, Marks.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Hello.
I'm good. I'm so stoked for this.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So give us a little bit of background. How long have you been watching wrestling? Like, where did wrestling come into the world of Jessica?
So my brother's about 10 years older than me, and we were having matches on our parents' bed where he was TikToking me and throwing me off, and
Nice.
since I could walk, I was the type of kid that went to a girl's sleepover and left early because I didn't want to miss SummerSlam.
Oh, love it.
So, I mean, I just grew up on it. The thing that really nailed me in when I was a kid was the whole Miss Elizabeth, Macho Man, Hogan, the wedding. I mean, that's what, fuck Days of Our Lives. I have pro wrestling, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Well, I am super excited to get into it. We're going to go in around here. We're going to start with number 5. My number 5 is 1/3 of Team Extreme. It's Miss Lita. I think she was kind of the first one to not be I think she was one of the first ones to be taken more seriously. I won't say that she was like one of the first great wrestlers, because that's just not true. There were plenty of women's wrestlers that were really good at actual wrestling in the 90s prior to her and after her. But I do think that her character was one of the first coming out of that, or even actually during that diva phase, that was taken a little more seriously. Like, her matches were just more, there were a lot less hair pulling and spank spots. You know what I mean? Not to say that there weren't any in her matches, because unfortunately there were in some. But she just seemed more to be taken more seriously. And yeah, number 5 for me is Lita. Obviously, it's a certain part of my childhood. Hardys, everything that they stood for at that time, to them as a unit, definitely added a lot of credibility to her. So yeah, number 5 for me is Lita. Wex, where are you at?
All right, coming at number 5 for me is more of a modern wrestler, and that's Candice LeRae. Ever since the first match I ever saw her in, which was actually guerrilla warfare match against the Young Bucks with don't want to mention his name, but she is one tough son of a bitch, and ever since then I became a fan. She went one-on-one with the dudes and went toe-to-toe with them, and even though, I guess her WWE run hasn't been the best, but everything since then, and now she's back on the main roster, maybe she can get some good shit going. But I've been a big fan of hers ever since then. And like I said, this list is my personal favorites of people I watch. I know we got people who are been good in different decades here, this and that, but I'm going to go in on people that me personally have watched. And if you haven't watched that match, look it up on YouTube. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Warfare match, the Young Bucks versus the world's cutest tag team. And she goes off. She goes the fuck off. I recommend anybody to go watch that. One of the just best tag team matches ever, in my opinion.
I will have to go check it out. Jessica, hit us with your very first one, your number 5.
Okay, so y'all can hate me if you want to, but it really came down to a 3-way tie for 5. Okay. And there's a reason, because most of them were valets and didn't wrestle as much, but all 3 of them were so integral to the basically the storyline between 5 and 6 WrestleMania. So my top 5 is Sweet Sapphire, Sensational Sherry, who was Queen Sherry at the time of the feud, and Miss Elizabeth.
Nice.
Dig it.
That's solid. That's definitely legendary valets. Probably, I would argue that's probably the very first time ever in WWF history that they had that much focus on women.
It really was. Just little things about them, so the first woman in Mississippi to get a wrestling ref license was actually Sweet Sapphire. So there's so much history in there as well. Wow. And so even if they weren't technical wrestlers, the actual love that Sapphire had for wrestling. Like, she legitimately quit because they tried to break her and Dusty up. She didn't want to leave Dusty because how much she loved him and how much a fan, like, she wasn't working with him. So, like, without these women, we wouldn't have those legendary statuses of some of those wrestlers today, I think.
For sure. I totally agree. I don't think Macho Man is presented the same way at all without Miss Elizabeth, especially in the beginning.
Cherry's wrestled enough in her own right. She's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I would argue too that like
she managed so many great people throughout the years.
Shawn Michaels needed her coming off the rockers.
Dude,
she did not have the personality 100. Until she came along. She was like, yeah, I mean, and he is the greatest of all time.
If it wasn't for her, Booker T might have lost it after that drop in his promo. She held it.
Shoo. All right, Jesse, who you got at number 5, man?
I'm going to go slightly a little bit more obscure, although her career was 10 years long, but entirely in Japan, and that is Megumi Kudo.
Okay.
Who's considered to be the beauty queen of the death match. She was in, if not the first, one of the first intergender Japanese tag team matches ever. Most of her career was focused on hardcore wrestling and deathmatch wrestling. She debuted basically by getting accepted into the AMW dojo, and she got accepted like the same day as Aja Kong and Combat Toyota and a whole bunch of other people that would go on to be very legendary in that whole thing. And her retirement match in FMW is one of the most brutal, insane situations you'll ever see. It's barbed wire ropes on two sides of the ring, no ropes on the other two sides, explosions everywhere. It's called a double hell match. I mean, it lives up to the name. I mean, it's one of the most brutal fucking things I've ever seen. You can definitely find it on YouTube or on the Tokyo Pop FMW DVD collections, which is what I have. But Megumi Kudo goes into my top 5 for sure, just because it's so different and influential.
I've never seen any of her work, so I will definitely go Google that and hope.
Me either. Sounds really fucking good, though.
It does sound awesome.
No argument for me. Love her.
Love it. That's awesome. All right, so let's get in number 4s here. My number 4 is probably going to get some groans, but I would say at one point she was arguably the biggest star in all of wrestling when the wrestling was its absolute hottest. And I'm going with Sable at number 4. I think that she is trash in the ring. There's no argument about that. I'm not going to argue with you. And she, like, to me, she has so much charisma and just her actual, like, she's obviously a beautiful woman, well, specifically for that time. But, like, she has, she's a terrible promo. Like, she's terrible on the mic. She cannot wrestle. But she was legit Stone Cold level, like, over. Like, she was so over just from her charisma. Like, it was like the facial expressions, those kind of things, like that alone. And not only that, but you have this massive run. You leave for like, what, 6 years, 7 years, sue the company. It's brutal. It's this big, like, breakup. Then you come back and arguably have a better run. Like, she was a much better promo when she came back. I mean, people kind of forget about that run that she had in like 05 or something with Tori Wilson, but it was like, she was good. Like, she was a dastardly kind of like heelish Sable too. It was really cool. Like, I thought she was great as a heel. No one really talks about her return run. So yeah, number 4 to me, I mean, the impact on the business, it's unarguable. Sable, number 4. Wex, take it away.
Coming in at number 4 for me is a former WWE Women's Champion, former NWA Women's Champion. One of my favorite people I used to love I can't even talk right now. I used to love to watch her beat the shit out of Trish Stratus, and that's Jazz.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like one of the people, like, I don't know, one of the only people still at that time who was still like an actual wrestler and not doing the diva thing, pre-diva thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was a great wrestler, wrestled for like many different promotions. And like I said, those early Trish Stratus matches when Trish really was very green in the ring, she carried those matches. And like, those were some great times. And even though I know she's married to goddamn one of the saddest modern wrestlers who's still up there at NWA, Rodney Mack, man, I still give her a lot of props. She's one of the best of all time. And I know she's retired now, and she should probably give some advice to her husband.
Yikes. Yeah, no, I agree fully. Yeah, that Tyrus match, my God.
Oh, one of the worst of all time.
One of the worst of all time. Yeah, I have no problem saying that. One of the worst of all time. Miss Jessica, number 4, where you at?
Number 4 for me is the first female Australian champ in WWE history, Rhea Ripley.
I like that.
I get behind that.
Okay.
She's the only woman to hold all 4 of the titles. So like the NXT UK, WWE Tag Team, NXT Women's, and the Raw Women's Champion. She's amazing.
Oh,
She
wow.
folds people in half. I want her to fold me in half. I love her.
I would agree, actually. I mean, I think that she's beautiful as well. Yeah, but she's awesome, incredibly athletic. Yeah, man, that's an awesome choice. That is an awesome choice.
My number 4 probably won't surprise any fucking body. Ultra modern wrestler, and I'm sure everybody thought it might be higher on the list, but
Jordan should be higher for you, but yeah.
Good old Jordan Grace. I just, the first time that I remember seeing anything that wasn't just an indie match that I was like, oh, that person's kind of cool, but the Battle Royal at All In and her getting paired up with dudes like Brian Cage and stuff like that, and just immediately kind of took me as like a, what the fuck is going on here? Because normally, even in intergender matchups and stuff like that, it never really went that way. And I just kind of paid attention to her career ever since. I think that for what Impact is, they have used her phenomenally well. I do wish that we would get to see her on a slightly more public platform, just because I think that I think it's there. I think that she does have the combination of things that it takes to do that on WWE or AEW or wherever. I do think she could fit in AEW, even though the women's division is languishing, just because she is such a different persona and such a different presentation. Obviously, fitness guru, all that fun stuff, well, powerhouse. And to me, great in ring. I think her psychology's there too. So I'm going to go Jordan Grace.
Honestly, I'm surprised she didn't medal. I'm surprised that she isn't in.
Yeah.
I thought for sure. I literally thought she was going to be your number 1 overall.
Yeah, me too. I'm 100%.
Yeah, I had
That's why I was
somebody
like
in mind
very
that
low
you
on your
were gonna
list.
Yeah, it's pretty low considering the massive amounts of love
It's
that
number
Jesse
4
Baker has shown
out
Jordan
of
Grace.
everyone, though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know,
No, I agree. I mean, that's. I mean, yeah. If you're making these lists, like you did not have a small impact on the business. This is going to be my most controversial take right here. You're gonna love it. You're gonna hate it. But she is inarguably the face of the women's revolution, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, and it's Charlotte Flair. She's number 3 for me. You can hate it all you want. She's a great wrestler. There's no debating it. She's a fantastic promo. I mean, she's elevated pretty much every single person she's ever worked with. I mean, you can literally look at that's the one thing that you can say about her is that like every massive program she has, there hasn't been one that like, well, that person got buried, she just fell off, like not one single time. That's never happened.
I beg to differ when she won the NXT championship at WrestleMania for no fucking reason. But besides that, yeah.
Yeah, but but I'm saying no one got buried off that. Like that was a bad booking choice, sure, but no one got buried off that.
I don't know, got buried, but it definitely derailed some careers for a little bit.
I disagree with that fully. I don't think it did. I mean, I think it literally boosted everybody in that match, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
You can agree to disagree. My bronze medal, Charlotte Flair, legend in the making, no doubt about it. First ballot Hall of Famer. Wex, where are you at with your bronze medal, your number 3 position?
Coming in at number 3 for me, sort of similar to Jesse's number 4, and I would say she's probably one of the best modern technical wrestlers of our day, and that's Deonna Purrazzo.
Ooh.
She's fantastic. The only thing, her promo, she always sounds like she's on the verge of crying for no reason. I don't know why. But besides that, she is just a fantastic wrestler in ring, one of the best. I've had the privilege to see her live many, many times for free because of Jesse over there. And she's fantastic. Like, I can't say enough great things about her. I know things didn't work out for her in WWE, but ever since she's been to Impact, she's really took the ball and ran with it. And I would like to see maybe eventually her in AEW. She'd be a great boost to that women's division that is kind of in a little lull right now on the downside, but maybe some Saraya and some Deonna Purrazzo and somebody else can boost it back up. But that's number 3 for me is Deonna Purrazzo. She's fantastic.
Yep. I think a heel Deonna Purrazzo versus a babyface Britt Baker would be amazing, which I think eventually will happen. But we will see. Miss Jessica, you're finally getting into your top 3, your bronze medal, your 3rd position here. Who will it be?
So number 3, I actually got yelled at on Twitter once for saying how amazing they were. It is the EST Bianca Belair.
Ooh, okay.
I'm all for that.
So the reason I say this is how much history revolves around Black people in wrestling, right? So for this specific woman, she is the second Black superstar to win the Royal Rumble. Do you know who the first was?
The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's the only person of color, the only Black woman to ever win a Royal Rumble match. She was, her and Sasha made history because they were the first Black women to main event in WrestleMania. She's the only person to win a 4-on-1 handicap to win the 5-on-5 elimination. She's amazing. She could keep her hair how she wants to, and old Dusty Busty the King can fuck off.
Yeah. She's from
amazing.
Tennessee, right?
I love her. She's from Knoxville.
There we go.
I think she's actually from Brentwood and then just went to UT.
Oh,
It possibly. She's from Tennessee. She's a Tennessee girl. That's all that matters.
That's true. It's very true. I mean, yeah, I think she's great. I still think that, like, I think she's great. I couldn't put her on my top 5 of all time. I understand all those, all that, but like
personal choices here.
Totally. Yeah, I love that choice. It's just I want more. I want to see more. I do. I love what I'm seeing. I want to see more.
She's still going. I think she will get there. Like,
for sure.
I just have
for sure.
all full faith in her.
For sure. She definitely is on the right path for legendary status. No doubt about it.
Oh.
Jesse, where are you at?
Bronze medal. Again, we're going with a little bit of strength here, and somebody who impressed me directly out of the gate. Cut a hell of a career in WWE, Hall of Famer with very good reason, and that's Miss Beth Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
I feel like her style, especially at the time that it occurred, helped in a transformative phase of the WWE Women's Division in a big way. I think those matches were inherently better than a lot of what had been going on. It was just yet another elevation of the stage of them actually focusing on women's wrestling and not just bra and panties matches and stuff. And there was something about her presentation that I just always took seriously, even when she was in hokey shit. Even stuff like her and Santino was, to me, still some top-notch fucking TV entertainment for shows like Raw.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was fantastic. Her promo's actually not bad.
No.
And
yeah, I agree.
I know a lot of people don't look at her for those, but it's really good, actually.
Yeah.
And her in-ring, I don't think anybody can argue with. And she just cut this different cloth, I think, for the perception of the type of people that were a part of the company at that time.
Yeah, that's a really good choice. We're getting into like very, very great level like air. When you're talking about the number 2, number 1 spots of all time. So number 2 for me, I mean, she's the only woman to ever win like an actual singles title in the WWF. I mean, it's got to be Chyna to me. Regardless of how things ended, the actual career and what she did in the wrestling business is not even. It will never be done again because there can only be one first. I mean, like she's just what she did was unprecedented. I don't think we're ever really going to see it again. I mean, and it's not really like anybody's fault. Like I think like a Rhea Ripley could definitely cross over and like start wrestling dudes. I think that will happen sooner than later in the WWE and in AEW and all that. I think it's well on its way. But I don't think that like we don't have the same prestige for the mid-card titles as we used to either. Like we don't have, you know what I mean? Like the Intercontinental title meant so much when she won it. Like it was everybody that had it went on to be world champions or Hall of Famers even. And it's like, now it's like they're trying to bring it back now that, you know, good old Papa Paul is in there. He's trying to bring things back to the way it should be, but it's going to take him a while. So hopefully we get some. First of all, there's too damn many mid-card titles. They need to meld that down. That's neither here nor there. Chyna's amazing, regardless of what comes up on Google these days, but she's amazing. She deserves all of her flowers. I hope she goes in the Hall of Fame as a single. I think she will. But yeah, Chyna number 2 overall, most influential women of wrestling for me. Wex, where you at?
I'm also Chyna. Chyna's also my number 2.
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
And Chyna was always one of my favorites growing up. I had Chyna action figures. Chyna was in DX. She was super cool. And even her post-wrestling, stuff is a little weird, whatever. But she went to New Japan and wrestled and, like, beat dudes. Like,
yeah.
Beat Masahiro Chono. Like,
yeah.
Fucking, not a lot of, like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And I did have both copies of the Playboy. I'll admit it. Got them for free from a friend. But yeah, Chyna, she just like you said, she even transcended wrestling. She was just this fucking just larger than life superstar.
Top icon. Yeah.
Even when she was doing like even in her like late WWE run, where she would come out with like the fucking bazooka and shoot the things, like that was still cool. Like China has always just been super awesome, and like I can't, even though like whatever she did what she did, but you know, do what you want to do.
For sure, man. For sure. It's like I feel like she gets way too much like heat for her life ending the way it did, but it's like, look how many countless male wrestlers ended their life pretty
exactly
similarly. Like,
and then like
they don't get judged nearly as harshly.
Got screwed over by the WWF, and that sent her literally into a down spiral.
Yeah.
I mean, your boyfriend cheats on you with the boss's daughter, like you're doomed.
It's rough. It's rough. Jessica, you're number 2. You're silver medal here.
So for silver, I wanted to pick somebody that I didn't think you guys would pick. I knew China was going to be on there, so it hurt my heart not to include her. But my silver is between 2 promotions. A 10-time winning champion is Mickie James.
Ooh, good call. Good call.
So 5-time women's champ, Divas title. They said that she was one of 5 to hold both the women's champ and the Divas title, which is pretty cool. TNA, Impact Now, like Ring of Honor, she's been on every single promotion. I don't think there's really been much of a place where she didn't just excite the audience and perform.
Yeah.
She was the first member of The Gathering that was ran by Raven. So there's a little ECW history in there too. I just think she's great. She's on her like retirement tour basically, like until she loses, and that's when she's done. Her outfits are fabulous, and I just love her.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great choice, man. Got to see Mickie James in person several times. It was always impressive. She was never bad, ever. So, yeah, good call. Jesse, where you at? Silver medal.
Silver medal goes to the belt drop heard round the world, one and only Medusa Michelli, a.k.a. Alundra Blaze. I don't think it's arguable to say that when WWF wanted to get back in the business of women's wrestling after the Moolah, Wendy Richter days, that Medusa, Alundra at the time there, was the absolute focus of that. And they got to bring in some heavy hitters. Like, I was always a big fan of Bull Nakano. I love Leilani Kai. I think there are a lot of talent that they got to bring in because Medusa was there, and they actually finally had somebody that could work with them, and they needed people she could work with because she was just so far above a lot of the other people that they were.
Underrated seller.
Oh my gosh, yes. And like Bertha Faye, as much as it was sort of a joke, like was still, those were some really good matches. If you go back and watch them, psychologically speaking, they were tremendous. And that was somebody that everybody was a fan of bringing in too, by the way. But obviously, the WCW move, a lot of people look at it as trashy, no pun intended, but, only certain people could have that kind of an impact by doing something like that, and she was kind of in a league of her own at that point in time, and WWF was not focusing on women's wrestling at all. WCW was attempting to, and they brought in my opinion, some better talent. I mean, Akira Hokuto's of the world that actually got TV time on national television. I thought that was trailblazing. They could have gone a lot further with it than they did. But even later into her career, a lot of the stuff that she did, like if you could have a passable match with Disco Inferno, then
yeah, no kidding.
So, Medusa, silver medal, top 5 women in wrestling.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely broke the mold. Some of the, I mean, honestly, especially those Bull Nakano matches, I feel like, we just weren't ready for it. Fans just weren't ready. Yeah. We just weren't ready for it societally because they were good matches. I mean, you can't compare them to what the ladies are doing today, but it was revolutionary at the time.
It's where a lot of that started,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's a great pick, man. That's a great pick. Well, here we are, number ones. I'm very excited. These lists have been very diverse. Last week we kind of had we were kind of all singing the same song a little bit, but this has been great. My number one overall is, we're going on 25 years now, and I mean, I know her last name is McMahon, but dude, you can't deny the character, the absolute stand. Like, imagine being Vince McMahon's kid, dude. How many second-generation wrestlers can't get out of the shadow of Shawn Stasiak, let alone Vince McMahon? And she did it. Not only did she do it, but like, she is just as, like, people that don't know wrestling know Vince McMahon. They know Stephanie McMahon too. You know what I mean? Like, they know her. Like, it's not, even if you don't watch wrestling, she's just part of the lexicon, man. And like to get to that level, yeah, sure, you know, she's a daughter, she's going to be in a position of power, but she has never one time dropped the ball. Not once, not ever. I mean, and that's the thing too. When she gets in the ring, she's really good. She's a really good wrestler. It's kind of insane, actually. Like she hadn't wrestled for like, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years, something like that. And then she came back and wrestled Brie Bella, and it was a good match. What? Like, how? It was so good, man. Hats off to her. I mean, the amount of contribution. I don't think any woman in wrestling at all has contributed more to the pro wrestling business than Stephanie McMahon. Has to be number one for me. Yeah, man, number one overall. Stephanie McMahon Helmsley, Mama Steph. Now that we got Papa Paul, so yeah, Wex, number one overall. Where you at, baby?
All right, so coming in at number one for me, I'll go ahead and admit it. I did not know her until she came to the WWE, but ever since then, I have been a fucking huge fan, and that's Asuka. Or Kana, whatever you want to call her. And she's the first women wrestler, like, I can remember buying a t-shirt of and, like, making sure to go out and get the action figure. And that NXT undefeated streak was so fucking amazing. And then one of your fucking picks had to ruin it, Daniel, but, so, just they like it was fucking stupid how they ended that, honestly. But just her work, and the thing is, not only her work in WWE is amazing, and she just fucking whoops ass. Like she's had matches against like Minoru Suzuki and like fucking Tomohiro Ishii, and went fucking toe to toe with those dudes and really laid it in. And man, like she's one of those wrestlers, like even till this day when she's on WWE, which, you know, she's been out for a little while and she's on there here or there, like I always love to see Asuka. She's fantastic. Hopefully, you know, she does one final like run in Japan or something before she fully retires. She is my number one favorite women's wrestler of all time.
Nice. Solid. I like it. I don't actually. You know, I don't really like Asuka. I hate that. But you know what? For me personally, that's great.
I fucking love Asuka.
I know you do.
How can you hate her?
I don't hate her. I just think that she's overrated. I think she's a good wrestler. I just don't think she's that great. And I can't get into that character. That's just not for me. I understand that a lot of other people like it. That's fine. I don't.
But yeah, you love the nepotism baby Charlotte Flair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make it
much
make
better
sense.
promo, much better character, much better storylines.
Shit, on my foreskin.
I love it. All right, Jessica, number one overall. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say.
It was really, really hard to choose who my number one is because I had a list of like close to 50. But I'm going the nostalgia route. I'm going personal favorite because they were such an integral time in that whole span that they were active. So my number one has already been said, but it's Miss Congeniality herself, 214 Hall of Famer Lita. Like she had me with the whale tail. Like,
oh yeah,
you know,
top-notch whale tail.
High flying TLC match, one of the only women in the WWE like universe to be in a TLC match at the time. Just high flying, like it was just amazing. And plus the storyline between the Edge, everybody knows that crazy promo where they're in the bed, and you know, Ric Flair comes out and it's like, oh, we're gonna see some Lita titties, and no, she's got a shirt on. You know, it's like that's the part of like wrestling that you're like, oh, this is kind of naughty. I kind of like this. And I'm like, oh shit, no, I'm an asshole. She's amazing. She's the greatest ever. Go Lita, I love her.
That's awesome. Definitely don't hate it.
She started the trend of wearing the thong like out above your pants.
Yeah, that's a whale tail, my dude.
The whale tail. That's it. The whale tail.
The whale tail. It's nice. It's good stuff. It was solid. Iconic look. Jesse, you're number one overall, baby. Take us home.
This was pretty difficult, and we did touch on her earlier. She was part of one of the lists earlier. I got to go with the queen, the sensational, our sister, Sherry Martel.
Nice.
100%. Not only because of a fantastic wrestling career that unfortunately had gaping like absences, firstly due to Plowboy Frazier breaking her leg in a battle royal, and she was out for some people say 6 months, some people say 2 years. it was a long fucking time. And that was like as she was coming up through the territories. And she was in a 21-person battle royal at that time in the South. I'm just going to throw that out there. So she's already being integrated with the boys. She had everybody's respect. She had everybody's trust. And I think without that gap, we probably would have seen a lot more of her in ring. But in ring, she was still very formative in early Vince McMahon era WWF as well. And it's just one of those things that I think that the in ring thing could have shined a little bit brighter. But no one can argue with the valet presence of Sherry Martel in any instance. I mean, it doesn't matter what version you're looking at. To be able to leave WWF after a run with so many icons, I mean, Macho Man Randy Savage, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, Shawn fucking Michaels, to leave and then go manage Harlem Heat to 10 different tag team championships and like through a bunch of different turns and twists and storylines and things too. To me, there's no arguing her influence on the business. And for somebody to have been able to make it in that era of the politics and the bullshit backstage and the good old boy days of wrestling, I think speaks a lot to her strength of character and just her being a badass. So I'm going Miss Sherry Martel.
Hell yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great pick, man. I mean, again, you're totally right. There's Hall of Famers that are legends that wouldn't be legends without Sherry and her involvement for sure. Absolutely. I mean, again, I can't say. I mean, everybody knows how much of a massive HBK mark I am, and I honestly believe that without Sherry Martel managing him right after the barbershop incident, he doesn't get over as the Heartbreak Kid. It doesn't happen without Sherry Martel. It just doesn't happen. I mean, even down to the music. She was the original singer on the song, you know?
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, the song that he still uses today, like 35 years later or whatever it is, you know, like it's just.
Let's
insane.
not forget the Vince McMahon version.
Yep.
Now.
That's what I was going to say. Vince did sing it too. That's great.
That's so good.
And Sherry Martel also wrestled my pick last week in our Guess Who Am I? Candy Divine back in the AWA when you guys didn't know who she was.
Yeah, I didn't know who Candy Divine was. That's my bad.
Nope.
Sorry.
AWA championship matches with Sherry Martel, like that OG right there.
Big OG. Man, this has been great. It's been great doing this list. The past couple weeks we've just been kind of poo-pooing on things. So I've been enjoying that as well. And we're going to get back to that at some point for sure.